up, guys? RATPACK Ray here. Not with a reaction. I'm actually doing a review. So yeah, guys, today I will be doing a review for Spider-Man Homecoming. I saw Spider-Man Homecoming on Tuesday, and I can easily say it was a fantastic movie. Great movie from beginning to end. I absolutely love what they did with the new reboot of Spider-Man, especially when they implemented him in the last Avengers movie. Overall, I thought it was an amazing movie. I had a great experience. You know, my expectations for the film were pretty high. You know, I knew what to expect going into the movie, and they completely just blew him out of the water, which I thought was fantastic. It was great to see, you know, a new Spider-Man. Obviously, this is the second reboot. The original Spider-Man's being with Tobey Maguire back in the early 2000s, and then also the first reboot was with Andrew Garfield. They came out with 2 films for that series. I love them both equally in their own different way. When I had heard that they were going to reboot Spider-Man, I necessarily didn't think they needed to. I thought Andrew Garfield, did a solid Spider-Man. But, you know, I can see how people wanted to make him younger and make him actually in high school, like a high school student. Hence the Homecoming title. Yeah, I thought it was a great, you know, when they started him in Avengers. You know, the Spider-Man that I know in the comic books, he's a very young superhero. He jokes a lot. You know, he's very playful. He's your neighborhood Spider-Man, which I thought is really what they made him about in this movie, as opposed to the Tobey Maguire, he's a little bit older. That version of Spider-Man, it seemed like Tobey Maguire was just too old for that role, especially since he was in high school in those movies. Andrew Garfield, I thought they did a better job bringing him younger, but now they brought him really young, like 15 years old, which I think is critical because they need to start him young so he gets older. Yeah, I thought the cast was spot on. Tom Holland did a fantastic job as Peter Parker. Wasn't too familiar with his works. I know he was in a movie with, I think it was called The Impossible, or This is Impossible, or something like that. I'm not too familiar with his works. I know he did a couple of theater stuff in England, like Billy the Musical or something like that. And he had also been in a couple of also breakout films, but this was his big thing that people are actually noticing him for. He was great. Robert Downey Jr. obviously was amazing as Tony Stark. His character was interesting because in other movies we see him, you know, he's like this rich playboy, like philanthropist, like genius. But in this movie, it seemed like he was a little bit more of a father figure to Peter Parker. You know, when you're that age, you're reckless. You think you can take on the world, and so I really thought it was great. The relationship between them two was more of like a father kind of son, like mentor, which was something different that we hadn't seen from Tony Stark. And I can tell Robert Downey Jr. had a great time filming. You know, he easily said he had a blast filming the movie, which was phenomenal. Who else was in it? Marissa Tomei played Aunt May. I thought she was great. Everyone was saying she was too young, but I thought she did great. The love interest of Peter Parker in the movie I wasn't familiar with from the comics. I'm not sure if she's someone new. I thought she did a great job. The character that Zendaya played was great. We'll talk about that in a minute. Michael Keaton played a great antagonist. You know, I thought he did a great job as Vulture. You really were kind of feeling for the character because, you know, he's doing it for his own reasons, and they're not technically wrong reasons. They're just different. You know, him being an antagonist, obviously Spider-Man has to take him down. I thought he did a great job in the role of Vulture. You know, he didn't seem too caricature-ish. It came very natural for him. You know, he's a veteran actor. He knows exactly what he's getting himself into. And so I thought he did great. Who else? Jon Favreau was great as Happy. You know, always bringing his comedic take to that character that has been hilarious in the comics. The story was good. You know, it stuck very much to the comics. It was a mixture of, you know, early on Peter Parker, but also more like of the up-to-date comic books. you know, with the suit and the web shooters and love interest, and it was different. It was great. Overall, I thought it was a great movie. I think you guys should definitely check it out if you're not only just a fan of superhero movies, but also Spider-Man and just the MCU universe in general. So yeah, great movie. Now I will be talking a little bit about spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie, stop the video now because I will be talking about plot, Peter Parker's dilemma, Michael Keaton's character, and then a couple of Easter eggs that I got to pick out during the movie. So the plot was great. You know, Peter Parker, this is his first solo movie in the new reboot. So we're very much getting a sense of, you know, who he is, you know, him getting the suit, these powers, and dealing with them on a daily basis. Obviously, when you're that age, you want to take on the world. You know, you think you're badass. You're like, you know, I hate people telling me, like, you know, I'm a kid or treating me like I'm a kid. When in the end, you're still a kid. You're still figuring out. You know, there's still so much of childhood that he needs to live through. And I thought that kind of was in throughout the whole movie. And, you know, taking on Vulture, taking on all these bad guys, you know. Because Tony Stark was like, you know, stick to the ground, like be like a neighborhood Spider-Man, you know, don't chase these guys. But in the end, you know, obviously he wanted to take down the bad guy, and I thought he did a great job as far as taking Michael Keaton down, but also in the end learning a life lessons. Because in the end, you know, he takes Vulture down, and Tony Stark, Iron Man, you know, offers him a position to become an Avenger. And there's this fantastic suit that very much replicates the Iron Spider suit from the comics, which I noticed immediately. I'm like, that looks exactly like the Iron Spider, which is awesome. I'm like, is he going to put it on? You know, is he going to talk to all these photographers? But no, you could see it in his face. He was like, I'm not ready. You know, I'm still learning stuff about, you know, being a kid, you know, balancing the life of being in high school and being a superhero. Which I thought was great, you know, because everyone's expecting him to, like, yeah, you know, he wants to become Avenger. He's going to put the suit on, and everything's going to be great. He's going to join Hulk and Thor and Iron Man. But he was like, you know what? Iron Man's right. Like, I still figuring stuff out. And in the end, it was a test. He definitely was the bigger man and made a great decision on that part. Yeah, Michael Keaton's character was cool. Towards the end, we found out that Peter Parker's love interest in the movie was actually Michael Keaton's daughter in the movie, Vulture's daughter. I absolutely did not see coming whatsoever. I was in the movie theater, I was with my girlfriend, and I looked over and I'm just like, what? I couldn't believe it because it was not hinted at all throughout the movie that was going to lead up to it, or, you know, if that was his daughter, or if that was her dad. And everyone was just completely caught off guard. We're all like, what? And so immediately you're like, whoa, this just adds more flame to the fire, because not only is he trying to balance his personal life and superhero life, now they're like beginning to mesh, which was the worst for Peter Parker, because immediately Vulture does find out that, you know, this guy that likes his daughter is actually Spider-Man. And so there's a great action sequence between them two, and you can really see the inner conflict with Peter Parker. He's just like, fuck. You know, I thought that was cool, how they brought that in, because they needed to kind of bring it together, not only like, oh, Vulture's this bad guy, he's going to take him down. No, now he's really in it, and he's like, he has something worth fighting for in the end. Yeah, there was a real dilemma throughout the movie. I thought he did a fantastic job. I thought they wrote the character very, very well, especially being that young. You know, being that young, you're very naive, and so I thought they did a good balance of, you know, him being naive, accepting that, and also stepping up and being the bigger man, and actually like becoming a young man, which I thought was cool. A couple of the Easter eggs in the movie. There were a couple of Easter eggs. A couple years ago, a lot of fans were petitioning for Donald Glover aka Childish Gambino, who's also a rapper, the actor Donald Glover, to become Spider-Man. Spider-Man later on in the comics, once Peter Parker dies, a new Spider-Man comes. It's Miles Morales. He, I believe, is half black and half Puerto Rican. So immediately, like, they wanted Donald Glover to play this character, Miles Morales, in the movies. Because I believe originally, from what I read somewhere, that when Marvel was writing the character of Miles Morales, they actually got inspiration from Donald Glover, the actual actor, the person, which I thought was interesting. So immediately they were like, well, we have to cast this guy. Donald Glover was in the movie, but he wasn't Miles Morales whatsoever. He just played a criminal. But turns out there's actually a little bit of an Easter egg in one of the scenes where Donald Glover is talking to Peter Parker's character, and he's like, yeah, I have a nephew who lives in this area, and I don't like, it's rough around here. Well, coincidentally, that nephew that he's actually talking about is Miles Morales, which will hopefully surface up in the Marvel movies later on, whether that be in the MCU or in the Spideyverse that they're creating, which I thought which was a nice Easter egg for fans for sure. What else? The character of Shocker was in it, so there was actually Logan Marshall Green. He played the first Shocker. Once Vulture had actually killed him for being an idiot, the second Shocker actually occurred. I thought they did a pretty cool job with the costume, with the jacket and like the gauntlet thing. I thought it was really cool. Shocker was a big villain of Spider-Man in the comics, which I thought was cool how they very little kind of implemented him in the story. They didn't want to take away from the Vulture. And then there was also one of the henchmen, or the guy that was always the Tinkerer, Tinkerer or something like that. That character was actually in the movie as well. Who's also in the comics. What else? Obviously, Avengers Tower is there. It's in the MCU. In the end, there's actually a post-credits scene. More spoilers, just a heads up. So Michael Keaton's character does go to jail, and he actually stumbles upon one of the henchmen that was actually arrested. And it turns out the henchman had a tattoo on his neck, and it was actually a scorpion. Well, that character actually ends up probably, most likely, becoming the villain Scorpion from the comics, which I thought was cool because we've never seen Scorpion in a live action ever. We've seen Green Goblin, we've seen Venom, we've seen Rhino, we've seen Sandman, Dr. Octopus, Shocker, and Electro. So we've seen all these characters, but we've never seen Scorpion. And Scorpion was a big villain in the comics and also later on in like the video games that came out in the 90s as well. Which I thought was a cool Easter egg because I can't wait to see that character later on. And if they like implement like Carnage, I mean, eventually they have to because they're going to be bringing in so many characters from the Spideyverse into the new movies. So yeah, there were a couple other Easter eggs I can't remember off of the top of my head. But watch the movie. I'm sure you guys will definitely pick out a lot of stuff. I was so obsessed with the movie. I was just like, what's going on? But yeah, great movie overall. I definitely would recommend it. I thought the cast was spot on. I'm not too familiar with the director. I know the director did a movie called Cop Car, which I didn't check out. It was with Kevin Bacon. But I can expect to see more stuff from him. This is definitely his, big breakout film, blockbuster movie. Which is doing great at the box office and also with reviews and ratings as well. So yeah, guys, definitely check out the movie Spider-Man: Homecoming. It's now in theaters. It's just showing at like every theater, and there's so many showings. And yeah, be sure to check it out. Let me know what you think of my review/reaction. And if you're new to the channel, hit the share, like, and subscribe button. I definitely have to do some other reaction videos that I just posted about a couple days ago. And let me know what you guys think of the movie or my reaction or my review down in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. And definitely stay tuned for more reaction and reviews, comic book, movie, TV, and video game related. So thank you so much for watching, guys. Take care.